Good morning, everyone. We're on a tight time scale because we've got the networking event coming up in a second. So I'm just going to get Neil to join me up here. Neil, if you want to turn on your mic and camera, that would be great.
Not quite.
Brilliant, mate.
And welcome to day 2 of the festival. If you so far, we've got a cracking session with Andy this morning. Andy Sanford from We Are Lean and Agile, continuous remote improvement. And he'll be taking you through in a moment. I think, Andy, you're going to be turning off cameras and microphones remotely.
Everyone's camera and mic is off now, but they can still chat in the table chat and the general chat, and they can raise questions in the Q&A.
Great. Okay. So we're going to ask you to ask questions as we go in the Q&A, and we'll get to those at the end of the session. Feel free to post on Twitter using FutureFest, #FutureFest, and over to you, Andy.
So if you want to see the PowerPoint or the presentation larger, click in the 4 arrows top right of it, and you can make that full screen for you. We're going to talk about mapping remote processes. Originally, when I talked about this, I was going to run through another session I'd done, which was getting into the detail. But to be fair, I've got that recorded and I've got copies of the presentation. So this one's more about the general mapping of remote processes, how you can do it, what you can do, what people are achieving with it, all of those sorts of things. So as Neil said, I'm Andy Sanford, Director of We Are Lean and Agile. We help people, we help make improvement easy for people. That's what we try to do. Great to be here for Festival of the Future. I've got lots of stuff to go through. We will do Q&A towards the end, so do put your questions in the Q&A. But we'll also bring you up to and you can ask them direct if you want to. So there is a raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen. So we'll cover that off when we get there. So without too much further ado, just a bit of an ask, really. I'm testing a companion event app, and it is linked on the main floor, but if anyone wants to scan the QR code there and access our event app, it's only set up for this one and the very next session because it's literally a test. There is PDFs of my slides on our particular session, so feel free to go and access them. There's also PDF of the slides of the other session we've done, which is a bit more into the detail. So yeah, feel free to use that. So I'm old enough to remember the times before COVID, you know, a long time ago it feels like, but it's actually, you know, matter of months. And obviously we had a certain situation in local government back then. We had a number of challenges. I'm not going to labor too much these, but obviously budgets, ongoing stripping out of budgets. Then we've got the increasing demands. So reducing budgets, increasing demands, all making for a nice position. And many local authorities, not all, and other public sector bodies are trying to deliver the same stuff with even less staff because we've lost staff over the past few years to meet those budgets. And we've also got much higher expectations from users. But there is opportunity. You know, there is new technology coming through. We can do things more efficiently, more digital. We can take advantage of some emerging technology. So that's great. You know, we've got some light at the end of the tunnel there. It's fair to say pre-COVID, pace of change could be described as slow in some areas. You'll mostly be familiar with this kind of method of process mapping that was always, it's what I did for the last 20 years, really, up until about 3-4 years ago, plastering the walls with Post-its, which is great, you know, really good workshop, get everyone involved, loads of data all over the shop, transfer it into some Visio, send it back to people. It's different, people don't recognize it, it's not very user-friendly, it's only one perspective, it's quite hard to understand. Fundamentally, the next step would be that it goes into some sort of handbook to support people, and very often those handbooks don't exist, or if they do exist, the processes are very, very out of date. So it worked, but it wasn't exactly the best way of doing things. It could get you there. I'm not saying it would get you there, but combined with a decent approach, it does the job. It could get you there. Fundamentally, we want to be more sure about these things. And I like to use a gambling analogy here. So for those of you that know, kind of freak machines are one of the worst things to gamble on. They're basically set up and, you know, they're going to pay out 85% or 90% or whatever, but basically keep playing them, you're going to lose. So we need to think about our projects as mini gambles. They are basically gambles. Every time we embark on a project, we are putting up money and hoping to achieve more back. And I think what we need to be able to do is make better bets. So I'm using the poker analogy here. Poker is a far, far better game to gamble on because you can learn, there is a skill, and you can round those odds off better. So you can actually make a better chance of you winning by playing better and being better. So it's a better, make better bets. And we need to do that. We needed to do that pre-COVID, and we need to do it now. If anyone is interested, please do. I am going to set up a local gov poker club. So at Lean and Agile, hashtag LG Poker Club, do comment and I will get back to you with some details. It won't be from probably about a month, but I'm looking to get some names. So making better bets. Just come off the back of Map Camp yesterday, there was lots of conversations about Wardley mapping and how it's not the map, it's the conversation and the shared understanding. And I totally agree with processes. Mapping the as-is process is about me getting all the stakeholders on the same page. We've got a shared understanding of the map, the challenges, the issue, the costs, the benefits, all of that. And the conversation is really important, and getting that shared ownership is really important. But to be fair, the map does matter as well, because you are going to use that as an artifact. Old style Visio map, pretty damn boring. It's a bit small on there, but hopefully you can see it. Pretty damn boring, pretty damn hard to understand. Not really adding much value to the process, if I'm honest. Compare that to something where you can show the value add steps, you can put it into a swim lane, you can move the process around, and also where you don't just have the process, you also understand the times and costs to deliver that process. That's a lot better information than having a Visio or any other. You know, I'm using Visio because it's a common example. There are many other process drawing tools. They're not great for driving or helping you to deliver better change. We all like a good evolution diagram. So the way I look at it, we started mapping with paper. Then the amazing magic Post-it came around and we started adorning the walls with brown paper and Post-its. And then tools like Visio or others, like I say, not picking on particularly Visio. And as we've moved forward, we've also started to introduce better ways of doing post-it exercises. So things like Miro, which is a great tool for post-it exercises. Not so brilliant for the fundamental part of mapping a process. You can do it, but you don't get much value. And then at the top there is our partners engage process. So really talking about a tool that will help you in one place, understand, communicate, share, collaborate, continuously improve processes. So what do we want out of the back of it? You know, the process mapping exercise, great, get everyone on the same page, but do we want a pretty picture of a process, or do we want a process model where we can understand the time, the cost, the quality implications, the challenges, the issues? Also, one of the big problems with doing it in more traditional ways, be that SmartDraw, Visio, any at all really, is that you've got data all over the shop. So you've got your process map wherever you have it. You've got loads of notes about what went on in the workshop. You've probably got some calculations. We're talking about having a singular source of truth for your processes, and that goes right through the improvement cycle, but also into publishing and that digital process handbook, and also the single being able to continuously improve and capture ideas. So do we want a single source of the truth about process, or do we want, you know, basically when I put it on a slide, normally I put up about 6 or 7 different things that you tend to combine together to make your processes. And the other thing that I think is important is, to me, improvement of processes is and should be a universal skill. It's not something that should just be done by an amazing transformation or digital team that comes along and does stuff to you and then goes away again. Modern organizations have a continuous improvement culture, and I think we need to enable people. And the way we can enable people is by giving them the right tools to do the job. So is it a special team that does it for you, or is it something that you want to embed continuous improvement? Now, I have shamelessly stolen this from John McMahon of IEG4, but it really goes to emphasize what you can do in organizations. It's about enabling everyone to be involved in improvement, and genuinely, it is the people no one imagines anything of who could do the things that no one can imagine. So John was talking about how their software enables people to sort of build API things very, very easily. So people, even in customer service, we talk about everyone across the business. So highlighting one of our particular customers, Edinburgh, they have trained over 200 people out in the business who are using our software, who are being analytical, who are understanding the current process, the times, the costs. And then when they're coming up with ideas, they understand the benefits. So we're talking about enabling an organization to have a real, sustainable, ongoing improvement capability. And what that does mean is you can start to or stop making subjective decisions. And there was, I've used this quite a lot, HIPPO. I don't know whether anyone's heard of it, but highest paid person's opinion. So there was one that went around on Twitter about product management and the 4 animals that you want to avoid. HIPPO was one of them. So Hippo is a situation you can get to where you don't necessarily have the data to make a decision. How many of you in the room have run a project and created a business case solely based on how many people do we need to lose to justify the spend that we want to make? Well, it doesn't have to be like that. You can actually be objective. You can have the real numbers and be able to make decisions. You know, do we take this forward? Is it worth the investment? There is no reason why you can't understand the costs and the benefits and start making objective decisions. And we do need to make better bets. You know, local authority is fairly unique in the sense of if local authorities were a private business, most would be out of business. They've lost probably 50% of their income over the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years. They have exactly the same services to deliver, if not more. And they have a greatly reduced staff. So truth of the matter is we do need to be cleverer about what we're doing, and we need to be faster and more iterative, and we need to be able to produce results in a consistent way, and we need to be able to make the investments where they're going to deliver value for our users. Something that comes up quite regularly is this sort of business analyst versus service designer sort of argument. And I suppose my paradigm is different to a lot of people. My paradigm has been working a lot with smaller councils. I have worked in some massive ones like Bristol and Croydon, but generally I've worked in small teams. And in small teams, I don't see the difference in a job title holding anyone back from doing things. You know, my type of project management that I've always done is to roll your sleeves up and do whatever the hell is necessary to get the project done. So there has been a few discussions, and I'm highlighting Ben's stuff here around process mapping in discovery. Obviously, Ben's in FutureGov and works on a lot of service design things. And I think there's definitely a service design versus business analyst kind of snobbery that goes on a little bit. But Ben's point was most process mapping in discovery is pointless. Too close to technical specs, and there might be a completely new service model. Now, I don't see the same problem. I have lots of business analysts, lots of service designers all using our product, and they're all delivering broadly the same thing. The title of them makes no difference. They aren't constrained by just improving and just doing little tweaks. They are looking at new models. So I don't see the same problem. And I think possibly where the difference is I've been a business analyst for a lot of my time, and there was this article by Ben, and what I recognize of the business analyst in that article is very much more a technical business analyst, which I've never been. That's not me. If you need someone to go and find the right fields and map the fields left, you know, one system to another, that's not me. I've always been in improvement and, you know, utilizing technology to deliver improvement. So I don't see the difference, and I think we need to be a bit careful about language. And I certainly don't see any conflicts between service design and business analysis. And just to take that point a little bit further, so where I see service design and continuous improvement is very much your improvement is on the left-hand side of this continuum, and service design sits in the innovation field. So we had a guy called Chris Bezic, who has a couple of books and a top consultancy that helps some of the biggest businesses in the world. He did a webinar for us recently, and he kind of put this into context. So post-webinar, he's very much service design focused, but if what I would always say to an organization is, if you're not doing the improvement element well, if you can't do the improvement, you certainly are going to have problems stepping up to that innovation level. And where we see sort of improvement fitting, and these are Chris's words. So again, it's all on a continuum. So at the bottom end, you're talking exploitation. You're talking how do we make the most out of what we can do, what we've got, existing resources, enhancing existing systems, those sorts of things. So your traditional just basic improvement, and that's exploitation. Somewhere in the middle, we've got these small band of people, and the reason they're kind of a small band is because this is the more risky stuff now. This is exploration. This is let's go out and find new ways of doing things, completely new ways, and let's try and deliver on those. And obviously you don't want everything you do to be in the exploration phase, because reality is in the private sector, in exploration, you're making many bets, and you're knowing lots are going to lose, but the ones that take off should take off massively. So exploration in there. And finally, you know, when people talk about innovation, often they're really talking about the full scale disruption side. And really, we don't do a lot of stuff in the disruption space, you know, really breaking new markets, completely and utterly changing the way things are delivered. Very, very high end, very risky. And the reality is most of our projects sit somewhere on that continuum. In fact, all of them sit somewhere on that continuum. And in reality, some of our service design, I would say in inverted commas, end up being lower towards the exploitation. Some of the improvement projects end up moving up and being more exploration because of things that people find and ideas that they come up with. So for me, we're talking about improvement and innovation. We're not talking about one particular way. And again, I'll come back a bit later. So I won't labor this one too much, but this was part of the blog that I did or I'm doing actually in response to the tweet, which was about, don't worry, you know, most business process mapping in discovery is rubbish. So I both agree and disagree with it actually, because I would argue a lot of business process mapping in discovery is wasteful and not necessarily delivering the value, but that is about the approach. That isn't about the fact that the exercise of understanding your business process and getting everyone on the same page. That is valuable, just sometimes the way we do it. And I look at a Wardley map, a value chain from the start, and generic service this is. So I would argue that your business process impacts is the first thing to impact upon your service user. It's what's going to decide, you know, where do I go to get this service? How can I do it? Even more so than system A, system B, system C that are actually fulfilling it. Then as you go further down, less visible to the customer, you've got some business rules, you've got some legislation, you've got people to do it, you've got resources to deliver it. And finally, probably at the bottom, you've got finance. So for me, it's always important to get that business process understood because it has so much impact. And in a service design context, the stuff that I would learn in mapping the business process will inform the hypotheses that I'm testing with the users in the service design process. So going back to COVID, this has been bandied about a lot, these sorts of stats, and sometimes they're easy to do, but you know, COVID has had a positive. We suddenly upped the pace of change massively in most organizations. and changed our models completely and utterly. Now, the truth is we're still going to have to do that, but as Gartner said here, by some estimates, the response to the pandemic has fast-forwarded digital adoption by 5 years. I think it has. I think there's a lot of work to do. We have done it without some of the change management pieces, and there are some wild assumptions around about people's capability on digital tech and virtual meetings and things like that, that really my experience is we still have some work to go in terms of getting people engaged and getting them the right kit to do the job, and supporting them to change from one way of working to another, because it's all happened very, very, very fast. And because it's happened really, really fast, we've obviously had some problems. So nobody could miss the Excel issue the other week. I would strongly argue, had that process been mapped, that probably wouldn't have been missed. But big problem. Hilarious if you haven't done it yet, the government careers quiz. I got told, and you can't get the full benefit of how ridiculous this is, but you get a picture with my fat, chubby face. So the top one for me was a professional sports person, a referee, or a leisure centre manager. Also, cake decorator, chef, and it did actually get some close. So, you know, there's a couple of high-ish profile things that have gone recently, but I'll give a more local one. So this is my local council. Not going to name them, but I live in Torquay, so that might give you a clue. During COVID, they brought in a tip permit process, and in a conversation with them on the phone, we both described it as a bit of a treasure hunt. So they slapped a process in that said, A, it was only by phone. You then had to travel. So going from the top right there, I would have to travel to a beach car park to be met by someone who would hand me a piece of paper and then tell me when I could set off on the next part of my treasure hunt to actually go to the tip. And then I could go to the tip and do the stuff I want, and then I could go back home. So all of that's like a 57-minute journey without any waiting time, in a small little area, not online, crazy process. That's what happens when we need to do things at pace sometimes. But again, it's not necessary. In under a day, you can understand the process, under a day. So what's the impact post-COVID? So the things we used to do, paper, Post-its, Visio, those kind of mapping tools that we would have previously used as part of this, get people together and we can stick the Post-its together, then we can go to Visio. Well, our survey said, so we can't do that anymore. Obviously, things like Miro and things like Engage process really coming into their own now, because we need to be remote and we need to capture processes in a remote way. And in order to do that, you have to have the right tools. Just an example here, because I realize I haven't really shown you a lot of the product. I'm talking about the theory here, but Engage process, you pull the map together with user-friendly icons with people previously in the room, but sharing it in a session like this, which I can do later if people need to see it. Being able to share it straight away. So instead of the old way of going from a Post-it to a Visio and it looking completely alien to people because the people remember the Post-its, this is actually the same picture. So you can share instantly. You can start to get feedback from the wider group. You can publish into a process handbook and capture ongoing improvement ideas and use it to train people. So much, much more integrated service. So you're kind of working through your as is, your to be, and then you're going to start to implement it. And you can give the the developers these process maps, so they've got the logical flow, they understand what's going on, and then when you implement, you can push it into your live process handbook. So what are the challenges after COVID? Well, no different really. Budgets, combined with increasing demands, with much less staff to deliver them, with higher user expectations, opportunities of new technology, probably easier. But the added one that we've got now is the backlog of work that we had, that whilst we've been dealing with COVID issues, we've got another backlog of work. And we've got existing financial challenges to deal with, and more financial challenges due to the difference between what government has given us as local authorities to pay for the stuff that COVID has cost us, and that gap between the two, as well as some massive gaps in income generation opportunities. So just coming towards the end of what I was going to do as a presentation before we interact a bit. If you are looking to design how you're going to deliver change, please remember it's not about doing one thing. It's not about being an agile house. It's not about being a lean startup or design thinking or a Prince 2 waterfall place. It is about combining these methods together. And I would always refer to this Simon Wardley map. For those that don't know Wardley mapping, please do have a look at Wardley maps on Medium. Simon's basically written a massive comprehensive book on how to do it. But what this is showing is that on the x-axis is the evolution of a product, and on the y-axis is sort of pinning your proximity to the user. So this is demonstrating that where you have products that are Genesis, so brand spanking new, you just created it, you just thought about it, or custom built, then Agile is your discipline. Where you've got some existing products or higher end custom built, then Lean is your tool. And where you're looking to improve your commodity products on the right hand side, then you're looking at Six Sigma, so improving quality, removing waste. And there's a ton of other, obviously that doesn't even mention design thinking. But the main thing is that no one size fits all. There is no way you can deliver in a complex environment, such as a local authority with hundreds and hundreds of processes by saying we're going to do one thing and one thing alone. That's just not realistic. It takes all of these disciplines, and it takes you to be able to understand which disciplines help most in the particular problems that you're looking at. So just to let you know, this slide's always out of date, just to show you we have a large number of customers in UK local authorities, so sort of bordering on 40 now, some government departments, private sector, charities. Over in the Netherlands, where the product is from, over 65% of local authorities are using it. So massive base over there. It's been around 15 years over there. I only brought it over here about 3-4 years ago because I just came across it and it was amazing. I am going to stop there, and what I would like to say is both of the presentations are available for anyone who's here. I will send you the 2 PDFs and also a link to how to run process workshops. So more of the detail about getting yourself set up and things like that. But I'm really happy to take any questions at all. And were the slides changing for you, Neil? Did the world move for you?
Andy, you always move my world, my darling. They were great, and some really interesting stuff there. We've So yeah, can we make those available for people if we want to?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally, mate. I've got the PDF of this one, the PDF of the other one, and I'll also send a link to the on-demand video from the other one, which you can just access whenever you want. Does anyone have any questions? So I put questions and demo. If people want to see a demo, then I'm going to be around anyway for the next hour, or just get in touch. But if you've got any questions, please just raise your hand, and you can come to the stage and ask them if you want. If not, we had planned for 15 minutes of open networking in the area, and I've just noticed Sam is here as well. There is, for those that haven't registered for the next event, which is networking and unconference, you can just stay on. It's in this arena. It will be starting at 12.